think that the trauma was more for what actually happened, like Amy Fisher trying to kill your mother, or and your father with the adultery and all that? Or do you think the trauma was more so from the fame and what fame can do to you?
All of it. I think it was a nice pie chart of everything. The fame part was a lot simply because even just like, moving across country in school, like,
Mm,
are you coming over to my house because you want to be friends with me or because I'm Joey Buttafuoco's daughter and you want to say you were inside that house and take a
right,
picture?
right,
Um,
right.
it was very any job I've ever been on. Keep in mind too, I was a kid and a teenager and adult. And so like dating, that was horrendous. Because what do I say? The first date, this is who I am, who my parents are. Okay, well, that never happens. And then if I don't say what my name is, and then I go 3 days,
Well, wait, did
they say you're
kids think
lying
that
to
was
me.
did kids think that was cool, or guys were like, I'm never gonna date the daughter of Joey Buttafuoco
I think a
because
little
I
bit
could
of
get
both.
killed?
I think a little both. And I couldn't decide which was which. So I kind of just went, like,
Yeah.
God bless my prom date. I love him so much. He got my dad's permission and like did a whole promposal at my dad's house and like popped out of my closet in my bedroom with like roses and a
Oh my
cookie
God.
cake. But like he's the only person that really I think was able to do that in regards to my dad. But it's like it just was so much pressure. And
Yeah.
so it was hard for me for in that realm. And then as I'm figuring out who do I want to be in society, who's hiring me, who's bringing me into this interview because this is my name on a piece of paper, and then I don't get the job even though I'm
Right. How
qualified.
do you find your purpose when someone's already written you off
Exactly.
or
And
written
and
what your
it's
purpose is?
and a big part of my advocacy now is, my digital legacy has been imprinted in me since a child. So if anyone Googles me, and much like you, I Googled you and your scandals came up first, not all the amazing other work you do.
Yeah.
Right. And so like that's followed me everywhere I go as well. And so it's like I can't escape this notoriety if I wanted to. Another
Mhm.
comment in the comment section was like, she should have just changed her name and moved to Middle America. And I was like, why didn't I think of that before? Like, come on, people. Like, let's be real here. Like, my situation is
Well,
extremely
can I stop you on that for a second?
yeah.
Because I've had plenty of people say that to me, including my own mother.
Yeah.
And I find it offensive because why should I be ashamed of who I am?
And
One
that's mine too.
situation doesn't make who I am. I mean, I know I was involved in a scandal, which is different than you. So I made some choices there.
Sure.
But I'm not I love my last name. It's my father's last name. He died when I was 15. I would never change it. I'm getting married at the end of the year. I'm not changing my last name because I'm
Mhm.
proud of my name. So that's the first thing. The second thing is that I feel like I can't hide from that. What am I supposed to do? Lie about change my last name, and then when you have to show your ID or if people finally find it, then it's like, "Oh my God, you lied."
Right.
It's like where do you find yourself? But with you,
Exactly.
what I find interesting is that I want to know what that's like to have people that talk about such a big scandal story situation. But it doesn't directly, I mean, it directly affected you because you were in that house. But the story isn't about you, it's about three people. So it's
Right.
almost like it would feel and tell and explain if it feels like you almost didn't have a voice, that they were so big and it overarched who you could be or who you were. And how did you find your purpose and your importance? Because I think as a kid growing up, I would worry that that child would feel like, well, I'm nobody. My parents are always going to be more famous and not for good reason. And
Right.
so who can I actually become that overshadows them? Because I will always be the comma. I always feel like I'm Rachel. You could tell comma Tiger Woods mistress. Like
Sure.
people
I'm
don't
I'm
fucking
Jesse
shut up.
Buttafuoco,
Yeah,
comma,
the
Joey
daughter
Buttafuoco's
of
daughter.
of Joey. Yeah.
Yeah.
So what are your thoughts on that?
Well, I think you bring up an interesting point, and you literally said my wholehearted experience, and it's challenging. I think that's why I was such a people pleaser
Yeah.
and achieving trying success. Like I've always been trying to kind of strive for the attention that I never got. Even as a kid, I was always
Yeah.
like me. I'm doing great. I'm the star. I'm this, but it was like never enough. And I think it had a huge impact on my identity. That's why I'm getting a PhD in media psychology right now to make my experience scientific data and research, and that it impacts how you form as a person on this planet. It impacts your emotional well-being, your social roles. Like it literally has infiltrated its way into the fabric of my being. Like it's a part of my
Yeah.
DNA now. And I think for a long time I tried to like forge my own path, like and kind of not even addressing that these are my parents and yeah, that happened, but like this is who I am.
Right.
And then doing that is also what led to my mental breakdown because I wasn't being my authentic self. I was being a
Right.
version of myself I thought other people wanted me to be, right?
Sure.
And so I think once I was able, and I did a lot of work with my therapist, um, I had to find my authentic self. I had
Mhm.
to figure out my values. I had to start living by them.
Mhm.
And then I think, honestly, once I broke down and started building myself up in recovery, I had to quit drinking. I had to change my coping skills. You know, I had to learn how to share my story out loud. Before that, my story was zoop, lip tight. And if anyone ever asked me to do media, it was just to like what you kind of alluded to tell the story of my parents. They just
Yeah.
used me as a narrator, tell me this is what happened on May 19th, 1992. And only until recently have people been interested in my story and what
Mhm.
happened to me as a co-victim of crime. Because I, like you said, I was not in that spotlight, but I was dealing with the entire aftermath of the tornado of that
Yeah.
for
And
decades.
right. And the question is, how do you find your own spotlight that doesn't relate to it?
Right.
What's interesting is you said someone commented like, "Oh, she just wants the fame and attention." What people don't understand, it's going to follow you no matter what. You can't do anything about it. So if you
Right.
go be a dentist or something that has nothing to
Right.
do with it, it's kind of like, are you really living your truth then, even if you go to school and become a dentist? Because people will still be like, "Oh my God, you know who does my teeth?"
Right.
Like, let me tell you. And then as
Yeah,
they're like under the gas, they'll be like, tell me all about Amy Fisher or
exactly.
whatever.
I'm a
So,
therapist at a treatment center right now. And
right.
I am both. I am on Drew Barrymore on Wednesday, and then I'm talking to you about your drug addiction and your family problems on Friday. And it
And I
makes
love that you've made by the way, and doesn't that mean that that's becoming that your purpose was now found out? Like what happened to your parents
sure.
shaped you, but that is maybe your path. Maybe you were supposed
And
to go and be on this path and you would have found it maybe somehow. But now you can speak not only through studying it in school, but through actual life experience, which by the way, I've been to plenty of therapists who have not been through losing your fiance on September 11th or one of the biggest sex scandals in our decade or in our,
right,
in our lifetime, whatever. So it's like, how do I have conversations with people like that if they don't get it? So,
right.
so when people want to talk to you about what it's like to be a child going through whatever, you get it. And I
I'm
think
really
that
able to
that is
relate to
what's
a lot of
amazing.
people.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I want to ask a specific question about that because you
Sure.
mentioned before about Amy being not of age. She was what, 16, 17?
Yeah, 16, 17, like on that cusp.
Do you have a different feeling about her? Or what was your feeling at first and what's your feeling now that you do
Sure.
this kind of work and you spend time with kids who are struggling or going through sex work stuff at that age? Do you have a sense of empathy? Do you hate her still? Like what are
Yeah.
the feelings?
I definitely have a sense of empathy. She's still a trash bag, but she's, and I say that because she has done nothing with
Right.
her trauma or her pain or whatever. She's just continuing to perpetuate trauma. She brought 3 children into this world who are not doing well. And she just continues to be a webcam girl, sex worker. Like, do you, girl? 50-year-old sex worker online. Like, live your life, make your money. Sex work is work.
Oh,
However,
is that what she's doing?
the
Oh,
opportunity to help others, yeah, that's what she's doing. The opportunity to
mm,
help others, she never took that opportunity.
okay.
And I will say, learning psychology and being able to see my number one op, the number one villain of my life, as a textbook trauma response was really helpful to me. So
Mm,
it's in court papers that she was sexually abused by her father for a majority of her life, and her mother never did anything about it.
wow.
And so that's not an excuse to murder anybody, but it's a little bit of an explanation. And in this sense, because when that goes untreated, not everybody, but some people can become homicidal, and some people can become hypersexual, and some people can become obsessive. And so it makes sense based on her childhood trauma, how she turned out to be so mentally ill at 16,
Right. Well,
17.
and as you're saying
And
that, sorry, go ahead.
Oh no, so I was gonna say, so when someone like my dad comes into the picture and maybe gives her a sense of love
And
or
as a
connection,
savior, yeah,
she's going to do whatever she needs to do to get that.
right.
And some people are suicidal. Some people shut down and isolate. Some people are get homicidal. And that's just a trauma response. And I also
Well,
think she might have some psychopathy or borderline personality disorders, because when you get sexually abused by a parent early, that's going to mess you up. And
yeah.
your body and your brain do things to protect it. And so I saw her as that. Now, that doesn't excuse what she did. There are plenty of people that get abused by their parents, and I can't reiterate this enough, that don't hurt others, inflict pain on others, or go to the extent that Amy did. But I can at least understand why and how, and that helped, I think, release a lot of anger, maybe some resentment towards her. I was also able to do that with my dad. My dad is a sociopath. And so when you don't have feelings of empathy or remorse or guilt or shame, some people might think that's a blessing, right? Because I feel like I'm
Mhm.
sorry, I'm sorry, I'm sorry all the time. But when you don't have those feelings, you don't have the barometer to determine what's right and wrong. And if
Mhm.
you don't have the barometer to determine, you're going to make choices that serve you and make you feel good, no matter how it impacts the people around you. And so once I saw my dad as that, and that, oh, I'm just this person in the wake of his path of his destruction. And so that was a big reason of why I had to cut him out of my life and really set a boundary with him, because I couldn't trust him to change, because it was clear his actions for the last at least 33 years continued to just be this path of destruction. And so I was like, you know what, if he's not capable of change, I'm capable of change. And I needed to and just lay that boundary down and
That's really
do a lot of work in
powerful.
that, and cut him out of my life. And 7 years later, I got 2 master's degrees and I'm thriving, queen. So do what you got to do.
Wow. So has there been any closure though? Like, has Amy apologized to you, your mother, your father? Has your father apologized to your mother, to you?
Yeah, I mean, so Amy, I think, gave an apology to my mother at one point, but it was just so she could get out of jail. And she never
Oh.
meant it. To this day, if she's asked about my mom, she's like, I made her a lot of money or something like that. So yeah, it's fucked up, girl. So I'm like, all right, you
You
gotta be
can't even like get upset by that because she just sounds like she's such a mess. It's almost like she
like,
doesn't
go
know
ahead.
what she's saying.
Exactly. So go ahead.
Like
Um,
we would never talk that way, and if it came from us, you would be horrified. But it's sort of like, what do you expect her to say? Because she's
right.
just not.
And at that
She
point,
has
that's
no
mental
clue what's
illness.
going
You
on.
cuckoo, right? Cuckoo
Yeah.
for Cocoa Puffs over here. And then my dad, well, first he denied it forever. And then
You're telling me he denied it for like an extra 20 years, even to
like
your mother?
wholeheartedly, queen. When the guy commits, he commits. Like, yeah, man.
Wait, but no one believed this, right?
Um, I
I don't
stopped
recall
believing
not, I
it.
mean, from the media's perspective, I thought it was like we all knew that it happened.
Well, and I think that was a big part of it. Like people on the outside that weren't on the inside, like now that I'm so far removed from it and I look at it, I can be like, really fucking happen. But when you're in it and you're being gaslit by the main culprit, you don't see it for that. And so I think the public had a view, and then the people on the inside had a view, and those were just clashing for years. And honestly, for me, it was more so, I think it was when I was in college, maybe. I don't know. He did a lot of like celebrity boxing and like that reality TV bullshit that really started to come out in the early 2000s, like
Mm.
reunion shows and like all that stupid stuff. And at one point, he was working with a really shady producer who I cannot stand, who he still works with. His name is David Creef. He's a monster. Was getting him into a lot of those things. And one of those things was like they were pitching him, and Amy wound up under an umbrella kissing in the streets of New York City. And it was like, I think my senior year of
Why?
college, and I was for money, for a show, for
You
what is
mean for a
real,
show or just for a photo op?
for a show, for a photo op that was going to lead to a show. And I just remember being like, are
Wow.
you serious? Like this woman literally tried to murder your wife, my mother, and you're doing this for $1? You're like,
Wow.
what's happening? And so like I don't even know where this question started, girl, but it got so when he
Yeah,
apologized, he said the words, however, his actions prove otherwise.
right.
So he didn't start apologizing to me until I cut him off. And
Got it.
he felt that's what he needed to say to get me back in his life. But it's like, bro, sorry, your words don't mean shit. Plain and
And
simple.
and I'm just curious because you talked about how everyone kind of came over, like the whole world was talking about you guys, and the three of you guys are, or four of you, your brother, right? We're
Mhm.
all in this house. Did it actually bring you closer for a while? I mean, listen, your mother stayed. I'm imagining, and please tell me if I'm wrong, but he was like, this didn't happen. I'm so sorry. I love you. I'm going to be
Mhm.
better. I'm going to make this work, whatever.
Mhm.
And that must have lasted for a while. And so maybe you guys felt closer, or was it chaos inside that house?
Little bit of both. So it wasn't necessarily chaos inside the house. It was us dealing with the chaos outside of the
Right.
house.
Okay.
When
Mhm.
our home became a tourist attraction and people would
God.
drive by at all hours of the night, honking their horns, screaming things, throwing eggs. That was a very terrifying experience. Or when we are, also my mom's injured, right? She has a bullet in her head, and we're all sitting on her bed, me, my mom, my brother, and her, and my dad. And we're watching the live news, and we make, we started flicking the lights on and off, like, look at this, like trying to find ways to cope with the
Yeah.
insanity. And so much so to, I remember one time my aunt called and was like, I saw you guys flicking the lights, are you okay? Like, and like just weird stuff like that. People
Yeah.
coming on up to our door and knocking all the time, looky loos, taking pictures, prank calls. The prank calls were horrendous. I'll never forget picking up the phone with those first few months and be like, I'm going to kill you and your whole family, little girl, and stuff
Wow.
like that. And so I think it did create our family to get more of a tighter unit, and
Mm.
rely on each other more for support during those times, for sure.